can play as optimally as possible, not get punished for mistakes. Right now, speaking of punishment though, two of their biggest champions, Bjergsen Zed, Lustboy's Annie, already off the table.
We've seen some strange bans today as well, which is always fun. There was one where it was, what, Urgot, Vladimir, and Hecarim were the 3 bans, and later on in the season, we are seeing the lower percentage ban champions coming through because the meta is shifting in that way. I like the Sejuani ban there by Team Solomid. They're respecting the value that that could bring as a first pick. A lot of Sejuani victories. Then the Rengar ban is not very common.
That's true, but it is a decent Welcome in Heaven champion. I think it's funny, you mentioned all these low percentage bans. TSM's bans, the ones against them, LeBlanc, Zed, and Annie, like no surprise to anyone ever that these are banned and popular champions. And so it speaks ever so slightly to the fact that TSM still a little bit better on their comfort champions, that their experimentation doesn't always yield great results, and Coast kind of banning around that fact.
And I'm really wondering from Coast here, even if they get banned on the Rengar for Welcome in Heaven, they don't want that guy taking over the game, if Coast will just go for a really strange team composition, maybe they throw Team Solomid some type of wild card, because they do not have anything else to lose. I did like it when they brought out the Gragas jungle. I like how they have been doing Alistar support as well. Those were the creative things that I want to see more of for Coast. I don't think Rek'Sai is that great as far as creative things go, especially on this patch of tank junglers with Santorin proving that he can play tank junglers.
Absolutely, and you're seeing sort of Sejuani bans on one side for that. I think there's plenty more for Santorin to play. And as you kind of mentioned, Rek'Sai not being that great and the patch adapting, Rek'Sai went 1-8 last week in the LCS over in Week 8, both NA and EU combined. Like, certainly, teams have been able to play around these fighter junglers rather well and oftentimes succeed on either hyper carries, or at least carries like Nidalee, or the giant tanks that have been getting bans.
Small sample size, the dream right there for Rek'Sai, but honestly, we can see the effectiveness dwindling even in-game when tank junglers are coming in with CC and then Rek'Sai's feeling ineffective in those mid to late game team fights.
Right, it's like, what do you do in a team fight? You can't break the front line down, and you can't bypass them because Nautilus presses R, and you're like, you're right, I don't want to, never mind, I'll back out of this one. Now, Lulu, once again, likely for Dyrus here, maybe, again, Lustboy, but Santorin on the Nidalee. TSM playing very similar things for themselves, despite 3 sort of standard bans against them. Yeah,
another Lulu pick. The great thing about TSM is Lustboy's proven to be a very, very good Lulu player, so this Lulu can be a total flex for them. Top lane or bottom lane, it does really not reveal anything aside from the fact that Santorin's Nidalee jungle is really scary.
It is absolutely scary. And speaking of scary things, I liked Riven Hover. You mentioned playing different things. Typically weak top laners like Lulu, where they can be bullied out, I feel. And Dyrus especially not getting help. Like, go play Riven. Go have Cris carry. The one win that Coast has was Cris going 10-1 and 10 on Aurelia. Give him that big duelist. Give him some help. Let him take over the game. Like, I want to see that style back for Coast, but they say, no, just take Sion in the top lane. Whatever.
Well, tank team. We got a tank team coming in.
Do. Support Nautilus, stop Sion.
I keep saying that we could see a Bard once people get familiar with him and find the right niche. It's not going to be this week, I don't think
so.
I wonder what TSM's going to do here, only because the surprise loss they had to Gravity was against tank team. Absolutely. They played against Nunu, Urgot, and just a whole bunch of tanks. Whereas that's kind of what's being put together here by Coast. Tanky jungler, probably a tanky support, tanky top laner. I'm wondering how they round this out. Already they've taken a tank killer because they're trying to guard against that.
Yeah.
This is coming together what people like to call the Juggermaw team composition, where you throw a bunch of shields onto Kog'Maw and turn him into the tank, basically, that also kills other tanks.
That's true, and we'll see how well they can peel for Wildturtle. They've actually put a lot of faith in him throughout time. I remember back in the summer split playoffs of 2014, his Tristana was massive for them, and they would play around him pretty heavily. Team Coast actually going to be playing around MASH quite a bit as well. It's a basically double threat composition here. Mancloud on Cassiopeia, MASH on Twitch, a front line there to be disruptive, and then ludicrous amounts of damage from the back line here. So very explosive team composition here.
Yeah, they really just decided to pick a whole bunch of AoE damage, which I really like this draft from Coast, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I do too.
Mainly, TSM is putting together that death ball with Kog'Maw that is actually a bunch of fairly squishy, kitey targets that are a ball most importantly. So what Coast did with their last 2 picks, they take the AD carry that can shoot through people and hit everyone at once, and the mid laner that has the highest sustained damage in a team fight. Yeah. Meaning if they do get deathballed on, they might have a counter.
Yeah, you press R on Cassiopeia and suddenly everyone dies. Just like, look at the area of that crowd control from Coast here, by the way. Most of these champions, not very mobile. You've got, like, a move block total. Bjergsen, though.
Is he?
Yeah, Bjergsen's going to play some Urgot here, or maybe mid lane Kog'Maw. Actually, Dyrus could play that too, right? Like, there's so many flex picks here.
I'm trying to figure out if this makes sense for TSM to have Urgot right here. Swap the Twitch, kill him right away.
Sure.
Probably would be the thought at the end of the day. Bjergsen played against it last week. I guess that means he learned how to play it.
That is 1-0 in the North American LCS.
In order to break this out here, I wonder how much TSM has been practicing this. That is a very surprising last pick. It's another range damage dealer. It's some swap potential. It actually kind of adds to the ballness of their team. But if there was one of those squishy guys, they can pull them in and then maybe take the tank line down that way. That's not what I expected.
No.
From the last pick.
No, not at all. Not from me. I was like, oh, maybe Orianna, Bjergsen's good at the champion, but not the case whatsoever. So, 2 big backline damage dealers for Coast, Cassiopeia and Twitch. TSM, they've got themselves an Urgot in the mid lane, and then a big beefy Kog'Maw still with a Lulu and a Janna to buff him up, and even Nidalee as well. So you figure maybe you don't need another support in the mid lane. Maybe Urgot's going to have this weird X factor. Yeah. It's going to be fun to see.
We're seeing it come up all over the world now. There's actually one loss, I think, in the competitive scene, and that happened last night in the LCK. It's been being played as AD carry and as mid laner. Yeah. We'll get into why we think that's a big pick once we get into the game.
You know, either way, getting ourselves into the game is time to show the team some love. Send your game predictions to @LOL Esports. Either the hashtag CST win or hashtag TSM win to let us know who you think is going to take this game down.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the giant favorites are Team Solomid here, and I really love the interaction of the team composition in this game, even if it's first place versus last place.
Yeah, well, Bjergsen's got himself some Urgot, so coming into this game, we did talk to Mash about TSM and who he fears the most on the team. Mash says all the players on TSM are the real deal, but that there is one figure that poses the biggest threat on the lineup.
I think all their players are individually good, and they actually mesh really well. And I think Bjergsen's like probably their best player, but sometimes there's days where Santorin plays really well and Turtle plays really well, but the standout player that anybody would probably say is Bjergsen. He creates a lot of pressure, he's always up in CS, and he's definitely probably the best mid in NA.
Yeah. It's really hard to argue that Bjergsen would be the best mid in NA, especially this split. People actually, if they're looking for weaknesses in TSM, say, well, Bjergsen has to solo kill his lane. And it's like, well, the fact that he's actually solo killing people's lanes on a professional level on a consistent basis is rather ridiculous. But he continues to do it, and TSM has shown even if he does not, they've shown ways to win. I want to see how good he is at Urgot. I don't think it's something he's had a ton of practice on.
Maybe not, but if there's someone to pick up new stuff and excel with it, I do think Bjergsen is a good chance for it. We see TSM do have mixed results with their experimentation. They tried Cassiopeia a few weeks back. Wasn't ideal. They tried Lissandra. That was great, actually, and they took that to the bank for a while. So we'll see if this is another champion that Bjergsen gets to play for himself. That is a good TSM signature. They've only got 2 regular season games left. 2 games left in the stage before playoffs.
Yeah. So much of that. And now the cheese gank from Twitch level. And this is actually a very common strategy in lane swaps with Twitch, is get that gank in mid lane early. And it burns a flash. Very surprised that Mash decided to exhaust him, though. That's strange.
No, they nearly got the kill. Mancloud ghosted. Twitch's poison works with Twin Fang. Mancloud started E and tried to run him down. It forced a flash, and now Mancloud is facing a flashless, immobile mid laner with a Rek'Sai who can flash on Burrow to kill Bjergsen.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they would have burned the flash just with the Twitch Twin Fang, and now Mash would be somewhat defenseless. But if they're going into a lane swap against Dyrus anyway, they could care less about the exhaust. So, yeah, that's a great start to the lane swap, and it does catch TSM a little bit unawares. It used to be an old-school strategy with the lane swaps of Twitch. But they pull it out here. This is a fight already. Here's Lustboy. No ghost.
They might have flash the other side. He should survive it just barely, but Mancloud forced an early recall. Of course, he doesn't have his combat summoner.
Yeah, I mean, the tables have turned once again.
Well, you said, Jat, you wanted to see Coast do some crazy things. Spray and praise AoE poison for Cassiopeia. Actually, I think it works this way, by the way. The way Cassiopeia's passive is worded, she gets a stack on her passive for every second an enemy champion is poisoned. Not that she is poisoned.
Check it right now.
That an enemy champion is poisoned.
It's by poisoning enemy champions, is the wording.
Almost. We'll have to check. I've heard people say different things about it.
Yeah. Either way, we'll have to track how quickly Mancloud can get to maximum 500 stacks on Cassiopeia to get that huge bonus of ability power.
Either way, Cris right now, we've seen actually Sions do very well in 1v2s. Kog, Janna, a pretty low threat lane as well. Cris might have a decent time. The 2-on-1 top lane coach also sending Welcome to Heaven near this side, but actually Santorin's allowed to clear his own jungle up here and is coming to soon back up Dyrus.
Yeah, and I do just have to update on this Urgot pick from Bjergsen. He has been playing Urgot a bunch in solo queue only since last week, so it feels like he literally played against Keen's Urgot, said, well, this is foolish, this is silly, let's play it myself. And that's what he's done. 24 CS to 9 here after the gank help from Lustboy.
Yeah, life might be pretty good then for TSM then, as he's up ludicrously high in this mid lane. Mancloud playing defensively. Santorin gonna spot Welcome to Heaven. The guy's still staying in his own jungle. Even though it is what is called the weak side of the map, red buff is on as well. Forces him away.
Good pressure early from both of these junglers trying to keep the farm up. A pretty eventful game considering no kills yet. The Urgot is I think what we have to coin this now. It takes away from the larger story of the TSM, who is running a protect the Wildturtle comp.
Yeah.
And they had that X factor of Bjergsen's Urgot in the mid lane.
I'm glad you've adapted to this one. I think it's a good term overall. Anyway, game is already in TSM's favor, by the way, just from the lane swap game. Mash down 10 minions. Oh, the flash hook though. Wildturtle has to flash away. He's got heal still. Can he get away? Can he yell at a minion? 1 second left on the shout. It hits him anyway. Wildturtle's got to be pretty careful. The Q charge is going to hit. KonKwon slows him down. First blood comes in. Santorin could not get the heal in time. But here comes the teleport. Dyrus going to land an easy glow to land. Santorin gets the trade kill back. And Cris is angry.
Whoa!
Cris is really angry. Forcing a flash. Good
I was
enough.
actually going to say that Santorin may have been able to flash to heal Wildturtle, but it's a good thing he had his flash at the end there in order to escape. Wildturtle definitely making a positional mistake there. Not respecting the Sion right in the laning phase, and despite Cris falling in lane, he's looking pretty scary. The base damages on Sion are ridiculous.
The problem for Sion, though, is he's getting very far behind minion kill-wise. The online vote! People pulling for Coast late in the season. I like it. The crowd cheering as well.
We did it, guys.
I think this is the only time I've ever seen a crowd be, oh, that was a nice play, though.
But can he get out of the range of Pink Ward while still being stealth?
He's fine.
Yeah, because the stealth
it's Janna.
Covered that much distance, and it's Janna.
I think this is the only time, like, in league history, the team has been more for the team that wasn't TSM. Like, literally ever.
There's been those CLG games where it's pretty close.
But are there really more CLG fans than TSM fans?
You're trying on dangerous territory right here, Freak.
I am, but
I abstained.
That's totally fair. Well, we'll see, though, in this game, Coast nursing a small deficit. They did get the first blood for themselves on that protected Kog'Maw, so you think that might be nice for them. But Dyrus is getting farm. We talked about what he can do with that, and so far, a 1v1 against Cris. He's a level up. He's 30 minions up. That's fine.
Yeah. Definitely fine. And, I mean, we talked about this game. I wanted to track Dyrus and whether or not he'd be able to get farm here. His one teleport goes down and gets him an assist. They swap back and actually leave him in a lane while he can farm. And he has hit level 6 before the opposing top laner, which is quite rare in a TSM game. Dyrus actually in a good spot here. Very high farm as far as top lane is considered, especially in lane swap.
He's out CSing his own AD carry.
Yeah.
The enemy AD carry. And the enemy, he's out CSing the entire enemy team. Let's be real on that one.
I blame Wildturtle for that one.
That's fair.
And Mash spent the early game ganking. Sure. But you're right, it's still something that's very rare. Now it's just a matter of if you can deal with all this base damage from Sion.
All right, now, so Cris is all about that base damage. And
Really? Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Sion's always all about that base damage.
And Mancloud just sitting there farming his way in the mid lane. I wouldn't have done anything if he didn't look over. But either way, though, Welcome to Heaven in the silence. Gonna find Wildturtle, who is flashless. The flash engage, exhaust is on. Another kill comes through. The true damage. Mash gonna spam some taunts. Yeah, he's fine.
Interesting
All as well.
thing, when you build a protect the Kog'Maw team composition, you kind of want the Kog'Maw to be doing well.
Yep.
Wildturtle is not getting CS right now, so even with the protection, it's going to really delay when TSM can hit their power spikes. Oh, support Nautilus is so good.
He won that trade for sure. Anchor greater than wind.
Can you really call it a trade if you don't take damage? He won that fight.
The steal, Larson.
Pushed Lustboy around.
Yeah, we had a term for this last week. I think Aiden and I talked about it on Challenger, but I've forgotten since then.
He won that period of dealing damage to the opponent with no repercussions.
Yeah. Now Bjergsen gets himself the first blue buff, 850 into the game. He's got Tear and a Flask, so plenty of sustain. You expect Mancloud not to have easy trades against him. Blue buff Cassio also able to farm and spam pretty easily. It seems to be Twitch poison is not affecting Cassiopeia from what I can tell, but I guess I was just wrong all along. Someone told me it was in solo queue. He was like, oh yeah, Teemo makes like Cassio super strong. You just give her stacks.
Is it supposed to be like you're in your lane, just giving Cassiopeia stacks?
Yeah, you just get stacks like for the Teemo fighting someone.
Doesn't look like it's happening.
I don't think
You have been lied to.
Yeah, apparently.
Never trust a Teemo.
That's actually valid advice.
Yeah.
I'll give you that one.
All right, I think the big thing for TSM here, even though they are winning the laning phase, mainly off of Bjergsen's Urgot, who is crushing Mancloud.
Oh, wow, yeah.
In CS. The big thing that TSM needs to make sure to do in order to keep control of this game is to not let Wildturtle die again. They need to give him a safe place to farm, which in theory should be in the 2v2 lane against Twitch. Twitch should not win lane against Kog'Maw in any sense of the word. But currently, Mash is up about 100 gold. It'll just depend on the ward and gank pressure or how well KonKwon can get initiations for Twitch to open up on.
And overall gank pressure's been nice. We'll see what else these guys can do here. The road to level 6 will be there first for KonKwon before Lustboy, I believe, and that could be very scary. Coast position themselves onto Dragon, and a blue buff tier, the Goddess Cassio, will not lose too much mana, or at least can replenish it on the road back. So Chris's base damages looks like no trouble down in the bottom lane, going to take down Dragon for themselves. Coast get their first global objective of the game.
And a little strange considering that they had actually lane swapped back, that was such an easy objective for Coast to take.
Yeah.
With Bjergsen's supremacy in the mid lane, theoretically TSM should have control of that side of the map just based on their solo lane advantages. Both of their solo laners are on that side of the map and winning the lane.
Yeah.
But they just did not have ward coverage in the Dragon area, and it was an easy Dragon for Coast to take. Not the cleanest play there by TSM.
Yeah, it's mostly a push lead from Sion. I guess something that Dyrus has to respect until he gets Royal Anomancon completed. Just doesn't one-shot the wave fast enough for a Sion queue. And that was my guess on how that one happened. Mancloud again looks for a trade here. Gets a decent amount of poison damage down. But be careful, Urgot walking into Fog of War is a scary place to go.
Swap you right into the fog yourself.
Yep.
Does not have eyes on Nidalee either. And if we're looking at this lane in terms of mana, Mancloud is far behind here. Would not be able to keep a sustained fight for very long. Bjergsen's going to continue shoving him out here. It looks like the stage of the lane in which Bjergsen can deny Mancloud from farm entirely is probably gone. So they're just going to be trading from here on out until there's some gank or kill pressure. Yeah, like that. That's a little bit of pressure.
Those are really nice plays. You hide behind that little wall. And one more Q! Should have flashed, didn't give him the kill away. Pull a Keen. Bjergsen.
Bjergsen should have flashed in the turret and died.
Yeah, why not? I have to correct myself, by the way. I thought Mancloud went tier. He actually is going for the Catalyst build, which I actually think is much stronger. It's a lot more durability. We talked about this beefy team.
He really needs it against Urgot as well.
Yeah.
Because we see one E gets landed by Urgot. And if it was a tier, the sustain would basically be he's out of lane immediately.
Yep.
With the Catalyst, at least he can take a few hits and continue to fight.
That's going to be the case here. Mash going to expunge these minions away. Level 8 on him, but takes a lot of poke thanks to Kog hitting level 6 by now. And, you know, Twitch is kind of slow. He's not very long range. It's fairly easy to predict his movements and land those living artillery shots, and taking its toll on Mash here. Mash is down 16 minion kills. And even though Wildturtle's 0-2, it just doesn't seem to matter.
I mean, Freak, these lanes, from a CS perspective, are just spiraling out of control for Team Coast. They're not keeping up in any of their individual skill matchups here. eventually I feel like that is going to transition to some TSM team fights, potentially at the next Dragon, or if Santorin can start making some ganks. Every member of TSM that is supposed to be farming is ahead in farm.
And that is so rough then. Team Solomid looking pretty nice. 1,900 gold, now 2,000 gold ahead here. 13 minutes in. Even though they're down in kills, they don't have any turrets to the name. It is just that farm lead here. WTHeaven looking for this gank, or maybe counter gank. Nautilus is nearby as well. They ping out the fact that not just warded over there. They know, hey, someone's nearby. Hide away. Bjergsen does so. No real threats. We look back at the lanes. The Nautilus support roam doesn't do anything. Mash is now stuck in a 1v2 up there. Might lose more CS as a result. The bot lane fight, that's staying pretty equal as well. It's Cris pushing pretty hard with fairly limited ward control.
He is, but Bjergsen's attention's elsewhere, as usual. He wants to try to get either Bjergsen or Wildturtle going, because Lulu having a successful laning phase or getting a few kills is not core to the success of this Team Solomid team composition. It's getting Wildturtle kills and getting turrets that way. As long as Dyrus is trading or better, there's no reason for TSM to go there. I like the thing that Santorin is doing right now, and Nidalee pushing top.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. Now top lane with a double wave right here, but Coast already have 3 members on defense. And we're seeing Cris continue to battle against Dyrus. The shield break does plenty of damage. You can see this matchup isn't that bad, but just look how much pain this turret has been taking. Low risk plays by TSM. Turret's gone in a wave or two if it's not continually sort of swept away by Coast.
Yeah, and it's 2 melees trying to guard a turret against 3 ranged champions.
Yeah, true.
Doesn't work extremely well, but they are respecting the all-in there from Coast, and they decide not to finish the turret on that wave. A little bit surprised they didn't press that harder, but I can understand the caution.
So right now, Wildturtle is sitting at about 300 to 200 gold short of Trinity Force. I think the ideal is that you
farm another wave and then take the turret.
You take the turret at the same time you recall for Trinity Force, at the same time you prep the dragon that's spawning in a minute 15. It's a bunch of things coming together to make a really nice timing window for TSM. But it looks like they're not really trying.
Get back to that minion wave. You did it.
It's like Home Guard Hecarim, just way cooler looking.
And a much longer cooldown. 105 seconds till he can do that guy again.
Yeah, that means it will be down for Dragon, actually. Meaningful timer to think of.
Oh, interesting little gank. Nice jump over the wall by WTHeaven.
Flashes for both. All right. Well, a flashless Bjergsen, I suppose that's a slightly better thing for Coast, you think, in the long run? Top lane pressure.
Mancloud looks like he burned his ghost as well.
Oh, he did? You're right.
Yeah.
All right, top lane outer goes down. The first of the game. Team Solomid up 3,000 gold. Now, Dragon 32nd. There's the recall for Trinity Force. Pink wards on 3 inventories of TSM, and they make their way down to the bottom side of the map.
Really nice timing there by TSM on their recalls.
Yeah.
Now it's all about controlling the dragon. Kog'Maw will be a legitimate threat here because of that Trinity Force. It's before Mash has something. Mash is still off farming that top lane. There's no reason to stay up there. He, of course, wants to hit his Blade of the Ruin King, but they're going to completely sacrifice this dragon because of it, is the looks of it.
Yeah, I believe that as well. It is live, it is live, it is live. Dragon has walked around the pit and taken his seat in the water.
So Dyrus is not running towards the dragon. He's going top and then would have to TP down for dragon, as opposed to the opposite of taking and forcing dragon with superior items and then TPing back top. Bit of a delay tactic here by TSM, I'd have to say.
Well, the question is, are they just like funneling farm into Dyrus for some reason? He's sitting there at the top lane wave. I want to know if he's shoving or freezing.
Dyrus is funneling farm onto Dyrus right now.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a minion wave. It's mine. Revenge for last week.
Yeah, darn right. He just said he wanted to play League of Legends. Apparently he wanted to play Farmville too. He's taking down minions in the top lane here. He's going to shove that down to the turret though. Thing is, Coast attributed all the resources down here, so he's going to get turret pressure for this dragon.
I mean, as long as Coast isn't committing onto this dragon, it is the right move to have your teleport man free to teleport down to the dragon. It's just a question of, are they going to give up the dragon clean off and just continue farming? And a late TP, not good timing.
Dragon's already done. Team Solomid, it's the TP from Coast. They want to fight onto TSM. Lustboy in the front lines, ulted though, maybe not the right target. Cris goes in for more, but there's no damage here. Mancloud and Mashes don't have anyone to hit. Cris gonna have to teleport away, does so. Javelin, it's Mancloud. The flash engage from Dyrus gets ulted back though. Javelin misses one more time. Out goes Coast, but they're losing health bars here. They might have to lose bottom outer.
Yeah, I feel like TSM will still win this game because of their growing gold advantage and farm in every wave, but that was not clean play by TSM in the slightest. The teleport, not during the time of the Dragon, also not in a position to create a team fight against Coast. They're getting turrets afterwards, they're extending their gold lead, but not getting 2 Dragons is concerning for TSM.
It is concerning, but Team Solomid happy to keep pushing with the rest of their objectives. If they don't value Dragons, then maybe who cares? But just when you always push in, they don't push for tier 2. Mid lane outer didn't die either.
Ooh. Hey.
Recall stops, but nothing to be done. So in the long run, maybe minions, traded hands, but it was an outer turret for Dragon number 2 as the overall trade. And Dyrus got kind of 4 uncontested waves top lane. So, maybe that's just, they're playing the long con. They are playing the minion game.
Right. I would have agreed with the play from TSM if Dyrus continued to push the lane, forced to teleport for Cris and conceded the Dragon. But they ended up trading teleports for nothing, because they ended up trading teleports and Coast winning off the Dragon. No kills. I guess they got the turret afterwards, which will add more to their gold lead. Bjergsen still has a huge lead on Urgot, and Wildturtle will still be sitting on that Trinity Force. It's not the end of the world for TSM. They have a 4,000 gold lead, but as a 12-4 first place team against a team on a 14-game losing streak, the longest in the history of the LCS, TSM should not be giving up 2 Dragons.
I tend to agree here, but it seems that's the way TSM wants to play the game. And I know we talked about Drag. Hold on, though. Top lane. Dyrus. He's fast. Knocks them both up, but it's a big mallet to the ground. Dyrus down to 1,000 health. Cris dives the turret. But do they really have the damage? The answer might be yes. Nope, it's no.
Yeah, they ended up burning a lot. Dyrus taking it. Level 2 ultimate on Lulu. Very large shield. I think Dyrus played that quite well, actually, burning so many cooldowns from Coast and still surviving.
Yeah, he's going to be happy here, and Wildturtle been attributed to the mid lane. Distributed maybe, but either way, yeah, nothing really working for Coast here. They found a couple of nice kills by targeting Wildturtle, and oftentimes you snowball the game off that. Kill the ready carry twice, make yours big, push turrets off it. Big AD carries tend to win you games by getting objectives, but Coast still with no turret destruction, still with no plays really made from MASH yet.
Yeah.
Just no translations really from Coast.
It's absolutely going to happen. Coast has gotten Dragons, but they have lost every lane as far as CS and items go. TSM is just now transitioning this into turret control. And we'll see when they pull the Juggernaut together. Wildturtle, Trinity Force, when they get in a team fight with Dyrus, Janna shields, Nidalee attack speeds, he's going to be ripping some people apart.
Yep. Here's attempt number 2 from mid lane outer. So much respect given to the fact that Nautilus could ult and the team's a little bit squishy, but welcome to heaven. Chunked out by Urgot.
The poke that TSM has in this team now, when you add the Nidalee with the Urgot, with the Kog'Maw, is immense. This is how the Urgot fits into this team composition, is by making the siege even stronger from a poke perspective.
Yeah. We don't talk about Kog's poke power much, but he's played as a mid laner occasionally because he's got so much poke on the kit. And even though he doesn't have great AP ratios with this kind of a build, yeah, it's a poke Juggernaut comp. I think that's actually really clever by TSM. Wildturtle, though, going to be afraid. Good flash by both players. Ulti comes in. Depth charge. Natural charge as well. Flash on in. The E not quite going to land. Spray and pray does a little bit. Will they finish Wildturtle off?
The spear!
It's going to be a spear to trade it back. Turtle gets healed up, stays alive. TSM 2-2.
I love Santorin on Nidalee. He is so reliable with that champion. Comes in at just the last second. This time, instead of going for a heal, he just goes to kill the guy killing him. Finishes off MASH for flashing the turret. Beautiful timing on the spear. Wildturtle gets out with a sliver.
Oh man, it's getting worse and worse for Coast now. And this one sitting 6,000 gold now in the depths here, 22 minutes in. More and more this game slipping away. Mancloud getting that 250 stack mark. So I believe that's cooldown reduction now on the kit. The big ability power burst comes later. Bjergsen, though, happy to just clear things in the mid lane. Outer turrets are already gone for TSM. Yeah, you mentioned in the pregame, TSM, this is a test for how cleanly they can close a game out. They're certainly not giving up kills very often. And, they're just acquiring farm based on how they're playing the game. But now you got to go for tier 2s. It's 5.5. Yeah. They're easier to kill, but what's next?
This will be the Dragon that TSM can take, and then I think they start pressuring around the Baron objective, for one. Cris doesn't provide what seems like much real threat to Dyrus. They're basically just farming away. And now the TSM has moved pink ward control into Coast jungle. They're forcing some really suboptimal plays that Coast wants to contest.
KonKwon helping out. Santorin, sorry, Welcome to Heaven smites it anyway. But yeah, TSM looking to contest plenty over here. Lustboy waiting around, going to put some wards down, and they're going to bully Coast off of their own red buff. Dragons up in 5 seconds. And that will be the pull onto red, because why not? Welcome to Heaven's Smite will be down for a few more seconds, so no real steal attempts. Wildturtle gets a red buff for this dragon fight, making it even harder for Coast to stop them.
It's looking like a really cool team composition for TSM to run. I mean, yes, it is against Coast, but looking at the ways that it's stopping Coast from being able to counter it, they have a very good mix of physical and magic damage, very high poke, and hopefully some disengage going on. We may finally see our team fight as they try and catch Bjergsen.
All right, the dive on a Urgot. Can they do enough damage? Lulu comes in. Dyrus helps the team out. Lustboy does too. And Kog'Maw's getting some damage down. Lustboy, the first casualty, but will there be any more damage coming through? Mancloud forced out. KonKwon the same. Cris forced to escape as well. And Wildturtle just hitting everyone. 2 more kills picked up by Santorin in the back line. Matt's going to get jumped on as well. You talked about reliable. How's that for skill shot accuracy? TSM 3-1 that fight.
Looks like 4 actually, because Sion was in the midst of his passive when he fell down there. And yeah, TSM, with enough people up, will just go for that Baron clean after the Dragon.
24.5 minutes in, plenty early on this. Lustboy the only casualty, and you've got a 5-0 Santorin pulling a lot of weight in this game. Baron's going to be easily picked up there, even a nice smite. Huge lead.
Dyrus had also just hit the death cap power spike on Lulu, which is so important. And it's a little bit of a non-standard start to this fight. You want to catch one of the carries, which Bjergsen is here. And what's interesting here is TSM was actually not death-balled up, so the Twitch Cassiopeia could not be effective. Twitch wasn't even in the fight when Coast initiated, which I think is the big reason TSM ended up winning this fight. They chased down on 2 sides. One side has the Lulu and Kog'Maw. The other side has a really scary Santorin with Bjergsen. The 2 combos matching up right there. Eventually they join up in the middle, and TSM cleans up the fight.
Very nicely played by these guys. 10,000 gold now nursed for them. Only 25 minutes in, and hey, only 1 casualty for a 4-man fight. I think I'm okay with that one. TSM fans can certainly be happy with this game, even though they seem to be few in number this time around.
Too many Coast fans on that Twitter vote.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, fanboy or not, looks like TSM in prime control here. Lustboy with an early Sorcerer's Elixir as well. Interestingly enough, we'll give him some damage in fights if he wants it. What the heck, why not? They're pretty far ahead in gold.
Yeah. Instead of going for the Soul Stealer, he just goes for an Elixir or something on Janna.
I'm not sure what he's buying with these components.
The Ardent Sensor, maybe?
Is that what it builds up? I don't remember anymore.
I've never built that item, I'm not sure.
I've bought it a few times. Like if I have like 3 AD carries in my team.
Hey,
press R,
if they're protecting the AD carry and trying to stack attack speed, the Ardent Sensor builds right into that playstyle. Who needs Mikhails when the other team has multiple stuns?
Yeah, but they're mostly knockups, so I can kind of see it. Whatever, either way, TSM. I mean, this is a team, by the way, that Bjergsen would back and like buy a Hydra when they're about to win the game. Now, Reggie said they don't want to see that ever again, so hopefully TSM does take this game seriously, but certainly a big lead for Solomid here. Looks like the move is down to bot turret. They've cut actually the rotate off. I don't think Coast can reliably defend this if TSM wants it. Cris will show, but all of TSM are here.
I do not see that being defensible at all. TSM's going to be taking down at least 6 turrets on the game by the end of this Baron buff, if I had to guess. They're going to do it real quick. I wonder if they continue this push down bottom and go for the inhibitor. I think they do. Yeah,
Dyrus stays mid, holds Mancloud, one of the 2 damage dealers that Coast even has right now. The poke, pretty massive. Even Cris loses a lot of health. Mancloud, though, in on Dyrus. He's going to have to be scared about this one. The E's coming through. Mancloud's ghosted. Dyrus does not have any really movement left here. Couple more shots. Not quite going to be enough. Oh, it is! The poison. Mancloud takes him out.
Instead of flashing away, Dyrus ticks out to the poison. So I'd say a misplayed there by Dyrus in the mid lane, halting this TSM ability to push. They're going to try to continue with these Baron minions who just ran out to try and finish off that turret. I think they'll get it.
Yeah, they are going to get it. So turret number 5 is Baron times out here. Dyrus, the only casualty of the extended fight, but 2 structures, I guess that counts as well. Solomid now 2 minutes till Dragon. Baron, I guess, respawns in 4. And they have to think now what's next for them in terms of map control.
I think it's Dragon right now. Blade of the Ruin King and Zeal completed onto Wildturtle. He will be getting a bunch of attack speed thanks to the Art Sensor, which has been completed by Lustboy. So
you were right.
We were correct. Those were the components. It's 25% attack speed for 6 seconds when Lustboy heals or shields another unit. So quite easy for him to apply that to Wildturtle since he should be Janna shielding Wildturtle anyway. You add that 25% to the large amount of attack speed Nidalee can give, and then the on-hit damage that Pix and the Janna shield also offer. It becomes an incredibly scary Kog'Maw.
It absolutely does, and Wildturtle, you know, slow start to the game, was picked on pretty heavily by Coast, to Coast's credit. They definitely chose the right lanes to gank and the right place to pressure, but Turtle has recovered from that. TSM looking pretty well in control in the mid-game. Dragon up in 45 seconds. TSM go in for the war control. Still wards in the inventory of Santorin.
Yeah.
Sightstone still has charges for Lustboy as well, and even an upgraded trinket for Dyrus to assist in that even further.
Bjergsen's at a really high point of damage as well, got full armor penetration. I think these next fights we need to watch. Just watch the damage that comes out of Wildturtle, because I bet you we've very rarely seen a 1 and 2 Kog'Maw do this much damage.
That's true.
Wait until they put all the shields and attack speeds on this guy. When he's hitting champions as well for that percentage max health. If we end up seeing a fight here, because Coast doesn't want to give up an inhibitor clean, maybe we see a fight. I'm just waiting to see Wildturtle shred some people.
Yeah, well, he shredded the mid turret pretty low already. Cris taking a bunch of pain. Look at the slows coming out. That's the tank. That's just Urgot hitting him. And Cris down to 1,200. KonKwon at 1K, and the inhibitor turret goes down. TSM don't need Dragon yet. They got a base to kill.
Maybe we won't even see this fight, because if Coast decided to fight, the game may actually just be over on that. When TSM is balled up like this and Coast can't get a flank or a nice point for Mash to open on Twitch with a Cassio ult, maybe stunning some people, when it's just a straight-on engage like that, TSM is free to disengage. There's no way for Coast to fight.
No, there's really not right here, just with the great front line, great disengage tools, and all as well. Now bot lane turret does go down to some minions. That is bot lane out of the first of the game for Coast here, but Dragon 2 goes down. Mid inhibitor's already gone. Let's see what's next for TSM. It's Bjergsen getting caught, but he already kills KonKwon for it. It's a 4v5, and there was no follow-up for Coast here.
And the Twitch ultimate and Cassio ultimate have been burned, giving TSM total freedom of where they want to go next. Unfortunately, TSM wants to go to either of the side lane turrets, and those minion waves need to be culled a little bit.
And Dyrus, sadly, not enough ability power. 5.5, they gave minions a lot of extra health later on in the game, and he does not one-shot those Luscious Caster minions here. Here's the attempted catch on a Bjergsen. He's very alone.
Low, but you can just see the Muramana being active on Bjergsen when he gets that lock-on is just so much, and that's not a jungle Nautilus. It is the support Nautilus.
True.
While still tanky, much, much squishier than what some people may be used to. And because he was a little bit low, Bjergsen just assassinates him on Urgot? Not something I thought I'd say today.
Yeah, well, when you're fed, you have 304 minions and plenty of items in your inventory. Not hard to kill a support. And it's going to be sad times for Team Coast. TSM clearing the minion waves away. You said they'd want to push these side lanes out. They're starting to. Bot's already pushed in. Top had Santorin there.
Yeah. I wonder why Santorin didn't clear that in entirety. Maybe he was feeling unsafe because they did lack ward control right there. Lacking ward control with Baron down is actually somewhat of a cause for concern. But if they entered into a base race, TSM would win it.
Mid's already pushed in. You got to be careful a little bit, Coast. Bjergsen actually riding the wave in to really create the pressure. I mean, I guess if no one reacts, he takes the Nexus down.
Yeah, this will be a mind game right here. TSM wants to force the recalls and then run back and force Baron. So there was a mind game here. The Coast is acting like they have recalled to stay and be able to stop that Baron. Because if Coast recalls, TSM takes the Baron. At this point, if TSM doesn't have war control, they think Coast is gone.
They know Dyrus is here. He's going to face check in. They find him with the Javelin at the same time. Massive knockup comes through. The fight has begun. Dyrus will be the casualty. Santorin knocked up by Nautilus. But is there damage coming through? Cris cannot find the engage. Bjergsen, Wildturtle safe in the back line. Welcome to Heaven, forced backwards. Anchors away and forced to run now. Javelin on the side. Yeah, low health bars. Lustboy shields it. Anchor again. Wildturtle gets the kill. Cris trying to run away. A kill onto Welcome to Heaven from Urgot. 2 for 1.
Really impressive mind game right there by Coast, knowing how the recall game was going to work and what TSM's next play was going to be.
Yeah.
And then you could see there was a sense of suspicion from TSM that maybe Coast was still there. But Dyrus doesn't actually wait for Santorin to check the brush with the spear. The spear hits as Dyrus gets engaged on, and TSM ends up losing a member, but they still win the fight and ultimately get the Baron.
Yeah, you're seeing it right here. Dyrus like,
Yeah,
all right, let's go, let's go.
They're gonna scout it with the spear.
Anchored in.
And the spear hits. They could have easily just disengaged and played that fight more intelligently. Dyrus dies, they ult Santorin, but luckily the gold lead is as such that TSM is still incredibly strong. Cris can't get a good counter engage on because he misses ultimate, and then it's just TSM running people down with move speed. One side decides they're going to secure a kill. Bjergsen says, I'm going to go find another friend. How does he get Rek'Sai?
The same way Urgot kills everyone. Press E then Q a few times.
Congratulations.
It's difficult. I actually want to point out an unsung hero of that fight was actually Wildturtle. When the engage came through the first time, he actually landed Void Ooze on basically the entire team. Cris is, he's going to die here.
Really fast.
And even though Nautilus had hit Santorin square in the face and stunned him, none of the team could chase that down. They're getting slowed by like 60% by the Kog'Maw E.
Yep.
And you just like walking him like crawling toward, unable to find an engage. Bit of peel for the team, Wildturtle supporting his jungler.
And now he's got a positive score as well, 3-2 on Kog'Maw. All the shields and attack speed going on to then the second Baron of the game for TSM. They're not killing Coast incredibly fast, but boy, is this reliable.
Oh, absolutely reliable.
God.
Why flash at that point? That's a kill picked up. Mancloud's down. Cris respawning in 6
They might just end the game right here.
I think it's likely. Turret number 1 goes down. Turret number 2 now in the crosshairs. Welcome to Heaven. Immediately shut down and the re-engaged by Cris, but who cares? No damage left. Back to the fountain they go. TSM getting a couple of kills in this game, but by and large, it's an objective-focused one. Get him! And we're going to knock down the rest of the structures. Nothing to wait for. There's GG. TSM guarantee themselves #1 at the end of the regular season in North America.
Big congratulations to Team Solomid. Even though the clinch came against the last place team, they've had to beat everyone else in order to clinch that #1 seed if you look at the entire season. Bjergsen breaks out the Urgot after what seemingly is only a week of practice on it.
Yeah.
Which is a very good sign for TSM moving towards the playoffs, because in the past they have been criticized in not being able to adapt quickly enough. And if they're making things LCS ready in a week, they're going to be real dangerous.
Well, this is one experiment that was successful for TSM. I think they still have to ask themselves, somewhat insultingly, but I think true, does it count if it's against Coast here? A team that's been having a very rough season for themselves. That said, still very positive. Smile at Mancloud's face.
Yeah. What do I do against Urgot? That's ridiculous.
I mean, Mancloud went 2-1-1. Like, it's not a horrible scoreline when an Urgot can swap you in and a bunch of people peel you back, but you know, everyone else in Coast just playing mostly for individual pride here. Welcome to Heaven, doing what he can to turn some eyes towards himself, but Coast with the lineup, you know they're going into the Challenger Series next split.
Yeah.
But the fact this team is still smiling, the fact this team is still positive, it does give you hope for them to improve, and maybe we'll see them do good things in the summer split.
I think
or
so.
tomorrow.
Yeah, they still have that game against Winter Fox to try and end the season 2-16 would be what they're trying to get there. The story really is, though, about TSM and their move towards the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know, we know they were able to win IM Katowice. They didn't end up beating the GE Tigers in that tournament, right?
True.
Which is the one thing people are taking away. It's like, well, they didn't beat a Korean team in a best-of-3,
Sure.
but they've shown they can win a little bit internationally. They really want MSI. We know their goal is Worlds, and they do need to focus temporarily really hard on North America in order to make it to MSI and then worry about Worlds. So it almost feels like from here on out, minus a little bit of the game they have tomorrow since they've clinched, it's full-on what is best for them right now, whether it's the mid-game comps or the late-game comps.
And then practice up for those couple of weeks to make sure you are ready for the international competition if you do win in the spring playoffs. But TSM, congrats to